So I'm in my Greyhound demo project, which began as the blank project in which we imported our assets in the previous movie. Now, I could stay with this, but now that we've gone through the process of bringing our media in, I'm going to switch over to my Greyhounds project that I provided you in the exercise files. So I'll close this, and I'll go back into my master Greyhounds project. And I first want to talk a little bit about this small promo that we're cutting together. This is about a 1.5-minute long spot, a short promo with the goal of highlighting why greyhounds make good pets. All right, so if I take a look in Assets, I can take a look at the finished version of this promo in Sequences, and it's right here, so you can watch this on your own time. But for right now, I just want to take a look at how this is structured. If you take a look at V1 and A1, we have the interview sound bites here, and this is going to drive the narrative forward. We have Barbara and we have Rebecca, and they are telling the story. I have to lay this down first to form the narrative before I go back and add my visual B-roll that's going to help tell the narrative, okay? We also have titles and music, but right now in this movie, we're just focusing on these interview sound bites, okay? So I'm going to close this sequence, and instead, we're going to start by going into interviews. I'm going to twirl this down and go into Barbara. And the one I'm going to play first is this one right here, Greyhounds Are Special. So I'm going to load that in the source monitor. I'll just double click, and I'm just going to play a little bit of this so that you can see what she's saying. I'll press spacebar.
Many people who start looking at greyhounds or who come to the meet and greets and have never seen a greyhound before, they are very surprised at how easy these guys are to acclimate to a family and to live with. They are quiet, they are clean, they are polite.
So I won't play all of it right now, but this is really nice. Barbara's talking all about what is special about greyhounds. This whole soundbite is a little over 1.5 minutes long, and we're certainly not going to use all of this. We're going to chop it up and include certain sections. And my idea here is to go back and forth between Barbara talking about how great greyhounds are and Rebecca, who is right down here. And let me just give you a sense of what Rebecca says. I'm going to load this one here, Why Greyhounds. I'll double click. And let's just listen to a few seconds of this.
I love the greyhounds because they're like big couch potatoes. They are affectionate but not needy. They are lazy, but they get bursts of energy.
All right, so we'll go back and forth between Barbara and Rebecca, and there are a couple of ways that I can go about this. The way I'm going to show you first is to chunk out each individual part that they're saying by subclipping, okay? And this is going to turn this longer clip into several smaller, more manageable, more focused clips. So this is how this is going to work. This is the third movie in Chapter 2, and we're going to start using our exercise files bin hierarchy now. So I'm going to come down to my exercise files, the other main folder in here, and then Chapter 2, and we're in 2.3, and I've already brought in the master clips that we're going to need here. So let's start off with Barbara's. Greyhounds Are Special, so I'll double click to load that. And again, I want to just play over this first part here so that I can see what I'd like to subclip. So I'll press spacebar.
Many people who start looking at greyhounds or who come to the meet and greets and have never seen a greyhound before, they are very surprised at how easy these guys are.
All right, so that's what I want to subclip here. I'm going to come to the very beginning. Now, instead of using my spacebar here, we're going to take it a step further, and we're going to use the J, K, and L keys to navigate. And this is what you should be using to navigate most of the time. And the way it works is that you press J to go backwards, you press K to pause, and you press L to go forwards.
Come to the meet and greets and have never seen a greyhound.
You can also go in slow motion by combining those. So if I press K and J at the same time, I go backwards at 1/4 speed. And if I press K and L at the same time, I go forward at 1/4 speed.
Seen a greyhound before.
All right, so those are some really nice techniques to hone in on exactly the part that you want. So I'll come to the beginning here, and I'll go forward with L. And this is where I want it to start, so I'm going to press I to mark an endpoint. And I'll go forward with L, and actually if I tap L twice, I'll go at double speed so I can get through this a little bit quicker.
Many people who start looking at greyhounds or who come to the meet and greets and have never seen a greyhound before, they are very surprised at how easy these guys are.
All right, and I pressed K to pause, and now I'm going to press O to mark an out point. All right, so I've got this marked, and I'm going to check it by playing from my in point to my out point. On a Mac, that's Option K, And on a PC, it's Control-Shift-Spacebar. All right, so I'm going to press Option K.
Many people who start looking at greyhounds or who come to the meet and greets and have never seen a greyhound before, they are very surprised at how easy these guys are.
All right, sounds good. So I'm going to make a subclip, and the way that you do that is you press Command-U or Control-U on a PC. I'm going to click on my subclips bin here so that it goes inside, and then I'm going to select my source monitor and press Command-U, and I'll rename this. I'll just call it Greyhounds Easy. And right here, I have an option to restrict trims to subclip boundaries. Now, we're going to go over what this means a little bit later, but for right now, I'm going to leave this unchecked. It's going to give me a little bit more flexibility. So I'll say OK, and now you can see that I have my Greyhounds Easy subclip. So let's just do a couple more here. I'm going to come downstream and get another subclip from Barbara. Okay, so I'll play forward, and I'll press L twice to go at double speed till I find another part that I want.
To acclimate to a family and to live with. They are quiet.
All right, that's what I want. So I'm going to go backwards with J. And here's where I want to mark my endpoint. So I'll press I, and I'll go forward with L.
They are quiet. They are clean. They are polite.
And mark an out there. And I'll play in to out with Option K. Again, that's Control-Shift-Spacebar on a PC.
They are quiet. They are clean. They are polite.
All right, so that's probably fine. We can get it even closer, but don't worry too much about getting your subclips perfect because you can always refine it once it's in the timeline. But just to show you how, though, let's take a look at this. I'll come back up, and I'm going to zoom in by pressing plus several times. And if I want to move my endpoint, I can either hover over my endpoint and drag it to the left or to the right, or I can just park my playhead in a new spot and then remark my endpoint. Okay, now that's not in the correct spot. You can see that she's talking there. Again, I'll use my JKL to find the endpoint that I want.
Live with.
And I think that's about perfect.
They are quiet. They are clean.
All right, great. Now another tool that you might like to use is to look at the audio waveform as you're doing this. I'm going to come to this little wrench, and instead of choosing composite video, I'll choose audio waveform. And now you can see the little peaks and valleys of my audio waveform. So if I wanted to get this even more precise, I could come to the very end of what she's saying here and mark an out point, and there we go. So I'll again press Command-U, and I'll just call this quiet, clean, and polite, and OK. And here's my second subclip. So I'll keep going down the line in Barbara's interview, using my J, K, and L keys to navigate, using my I and O keys to mark my in and out points, using my Command-U and my Control-U to subclip, and also I have the possibility of switching over to my audio waveform. I'll just do one more and we'll make it in Rebecca's clip. So that's Why Greyhounds, and I'm going to do this a little bit more quickly here.
I love the greyhounds because they're like big couch potatoes. They are affectionate but not needy.
That's all I want, so I'm going to press Command-U, and I'm going to call this affectionate, not needy, and we'll say OK. And here it is. Now I didn't have my subclips bin selected, so I'll have to move that in, and that's easy enough. I'll go ahead and just drag this right into subclips. Again, subclips are always deposited in whatever is selected, so if you think about it, go ahead and select the desired location before you create the subclip. All right, so depending on the project, you may want to chunk and subclip like we're doing here, or you may approach it a little bit more organically and mark your in and out points on the fly as you edit into the timeline. Either way, however, it's really important to take your time during this process. Make sure you screen your footage and choose wisely. Now, you can always tweak your marked clips later, of course, but it is a good thing to get in the habit of having a discerning eye for what you want to include in your project from the very beginning.